U.S. President Donald Trump has paused military aid to Ukraine following his clash with Ukrainian President Zelensky last week. A White House official deepening that fissure that has opened between the two one-time allies. The White House has announced a review and temporary pause on aid to ensure it supports a peaceful resolution. And I quote, "The president has been clear that he's focused on peace. We need our partners to be committed to that goal as well. We're pausing and reviewing our aid to ensure that it is contributing to a solution. Additionally, all U.S. military equipment not yet in Ukraine would be halted, including weapons en route by air or sea and those held in transit areas in Poland." Trump directed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to implement the pause. Let's in fact listen in.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a great deal for us because, you know, Biden very, very foolishly, stupidly, frankly, gave $300 billion and $350 billion more accurately to a country to fight and to try and do things. And you know what happened? We get nothing. Just gave it. We could have rebuilt our entire U.S. Navy with $350 billion. Think of it, $350 billion. We could have rebuilt our U.S. Navy. So he gave it away as fast as the money could be gone. And what we're doing is getting that all back and a lot more than that. And what we need, it's very important for this business that we're talking about here with chips and semiconductors and everything else. We need.
We have with us Aditya Vadhavan joining us on the telecast. Aditya, now we have seen that amid all of this, after the fiery exchange between Donald Trump and Zelensky, now U.S. has halted the military aid to Ukraine. So what are the details that are coming in?
Well, yeah, to see, you know, this was quite obvious, you know, because that ugly spat that had happened inside in the White House between Volodymyr Zelensky and U.S. President Donald Trump, you know, regarding both of the leaders were seen sharing words were seen sharing war of words, and you know, at one instance, you know, Donald Trump was, you know, seen humiliating the Ukrainian president Volodymyr Zelensky because of his, you know, comments. You know, he said that, you know, look what he is wearing, and you know, and there was in the instance there was an instance where Vice President J.D. Vance had to intervene to, you know, calm things between the two. And you know, Trump has been repeatedly saying that, you know, Ukraine, that Volodymyr Zelensky is a great salesman, and you know, he has been criticizing the Biden administration for giving $350 million of military aid to Ukraine, which he now wants to take it back, all back from Ukraine. And that is why, you know, this can be thought as a pressure tactic being deployed by the United States on Ukraine, you know, so that they mellow down on this crucial mineral deal. Because, you know, let us just put this into perspective that, you know, the Ukraine has a large number of rare earth elements and other minerals of importance that the U.S. wants, because that is why Trump is, you know, putting such pressure on Volodymyr Zelensky so that he yields to this, you know, because he wants 50% of the sharing of these rare earth elements and important minerals to U.S. So this is a very the stopping of this military aid is a very you know, crucial, is a very important step, you know, because Europe and America are now slightly divided as far as Ukraine-Russia war is concerned, while the entire Europe stands with Ukraine, and Putin is taking advantage of this situation at the moment, because, you know, the United States, it appears that, you know, Trump is full in support of Russia, because he has been saying that, you know, Russia is ready to make deal, but Ukraine is unwilling to make any deal. Yes, Ria.
All right, we have Aditya, stay with us. We have another breaking news coming in. U.S. President Trump has vowed to end Russia-Ukraine war, and he has been clear that he's focused on peace. He says that, and I quote, "I think it takes two to tango, and if you're going to have to make a deal with Russia and Ukraine, you're going to have to the assent and the consent from the European nations, because I think that it's important. Everybody has to get into a room and so to speak, and we have to make a deal, and the deal can be made very fast. He further said that he believes that Russian President Putin is willing to make a deal. Let's in fact listen into what he said.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It could be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. We talk about suffering. They've suffered. But if you think about it, under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big Ukraine, the whole thing. If I didn't get in here, they would have gotten the whole thing. So I can only say, you can go back to Bush, you can go back to Obama, and go back to Biden. They took a lot. The only one they didn't get, you know what I gave them? I gave them anti-tank missiles. That's what I gave them. I gave them sanctions on Russia. I gave them javelins. You know the javelins? You know when they took out all those tanks? You know the tanks were heading to Kiev by the hundreds, and they were unstoppable. And I gave them javelins. So, you know, I really, Putin is the one that will tell you this has not been so good for them. The fact is that I just want fairness. I want fairness. But think of it. I gave Russia nothing except grief. I gave them nothing. I gave them sanctions and javelins. That's what I gave them. Obama gave them sheets, and you heard that statement before. It's a very famous, Trump gave them javelins and Obama gave them sheets, and then they say how close I am to Russia. And let me tell you, we have to make a deal because there are a lot of people being killed that shouldn't be killed. But remember, Trump gave them nothing, and the other presidents gave them a lot. They gave them everything.
Aditya, now we're seeing that multiple statements of Donald Trump are coming out in terms of the Russia-Ukraine war. And now he has made a statement that he will make a peace deal and he will try to end this Russia-Ukraine war. So what exactly does this statement and his inclination mean for the Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, Arya, if you see, the statement by Donald Trump at the moment is looking very absurd because, he has been, if you see, he has been making the mentioning of the deals, basically, what he means that whichever side is ready to make a deal, he will, negotiate with him. So at this juncture, the entire situation is in a mess because, on one side, he wants to close this mineral deal with Ukraine, and on the other side, he wants to also, diplomatically deal with Russia and force them to, abandon this war. Because, if you see, during the meeting with the Russian side in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, no direct pressure, I mean, which was headed by the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. The Russia wasn't directly very forced, pressurized to abandon this war. And, and after the meeting, actually, Russia has increase the number of attacks on Ukraine. So the situation right now is not looking good for Ukraine, while the Europeans, like countries like UK, whose Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that, when he is rallying behind Ukraine, and the entire Europe, for that matter, is rallying behind Ukraine, and they are also ready to deploy the UK military if required. And what had happened, as after this ugly spat at the White House between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, what had happened that a Norwegian fuel firm had denied giving fuel to the U.S. forces, and they had tweeted the name of the Norwegian firm was Hutchinson. Hutchinson, and they had also tweeted that all the other European nations should also follow the same, because as per them, Trump had public humiliated in front of the cameras, the world cameras, Volodymyr Zelensky. Now it needs to be closely seen how this entire situation unfolds. Yes, Ria.
All right, Aditya, stay with us. We have more developments coming in. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada will take effect on March 4, stoking fears of a trade war in North America and sending financial markets reeling. Trump also said reciprocal tariffs would also take effect on April 2 on countries that impose duties on U.S. products. He also reaffirmed that he will increase tariffs on all Chinese imports to 20% from previous 10% levy to punish Beijing for continued shipments of fentanyl to the U.S. In fact, let's listen into what Donald Trump said.
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow. And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico. And as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico. And that's a very important thing.
Aditya, what are the details that are coming in terms of Trump's tariff war that we have seen earlier also? Now he has also issued another statement regarding that he's planning to increase certain tariffs on China as well, and there's Mexico and Canada.
Well, Ria, Trump had, warned the Mexico and China that, if by a certain specified time you would not heed to the demands, these tariffs will come into effect again. It was just a temporary temporary relief that Trump had provided to both the countries. And, as a result, Mexico also, along with its border with the United States, had deployed national security guards, to prevent any drug trafficking or any flow of fentanyl or some criminals inside the United States of America. But still, U.S. President Donald Trump has gone ahead with imposing tariffs on Mexico and China. And China, as soon as Trump had announced 10% tariffs on China, China also initiated a investigation into the Google's operation way back in China. So now the situation is actually looking very tense, because China has also ordered reciprocal tariffs on American imports. So now it needs to be seen, because both China and United States of America are the world's biggest economies, and if two biggest economies place tariffs on each other, so now the situation is concerning, and it needs to be seen how this affects the global economy. Yes.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.